welcome to the Stanley Street Social Podcast presented by the TAC. The road belongs to us all. It's good to be joined by Cambo down south. Welcome, Cambo.
Thanks, Alex. It's good to be back on as a guest.
And my co-host Max Gawn over in the west. Welcome, Max.
Yes, over in the west. Me and Cambo are in the only two states you'd want to be in, I think.
We are well spread across Australia right now.
We are. I'm basically in a little Melbourne, we're fenced off. We're in a resort that's fenced off. You can't walk any further than 200 meters without going to where you've already been. So it's basically Melbourne, but we're in Perth, so we've got nice weather.
And it seems like a bike race is in Europe at the moment. You just do whatever you want.
It's a free-for-all.
All this COVID thing is just washed over there, and athletes are just free-for-all.
Genuine free-for-all everywhere in Europe. The Grand Prix in Netherlands.
Yeah.
The college football in America. We don't need to go into it. We're about to see it at Optus Oval, I think. Hopefully we're about to see 60,000 there as well.
Yeah, let's hope so.
We're going to go through the run sheet, the start list of the Vuelta. Give each team a rating out of 7, 0 to 7. 7's being pretty rare. Max, against the Cats, GMHBA Stadium, kicking the winner after stomping over a Geelong team in the final quarter. Does that get you a 7?
Well, that's tough to break down because we got ourselves in a pretty bad position. But in the end, we still won. So Roglic crashes on a descent, but still wins up the top of the hill in the same stage. Does he get a 7? Probably does.
Yeah.
Goes close.
Yeah. So maybe it does. Maybe it's a 7.
Well, it's a 7 from me. So speaking of Roglic, first team off the start list, Jumbo Visma. He's just the Vuelta king. Just does it all. Stage wins, GC, cool, calm, collected, solving race issues. 7.
Yeah, the cool, calm, and collected bit gets me with Rog. He never really attacked, sat on wheels, and saved energy for that potential last 2 or 3 days. It was going to be tough for him, but it ended up not being tough at all. Team rode really well. They made other teams ride. So many other teams rode instead of Jumbo riding, which was crazy. They held their cool there as well. I thought it was a professional outfit, professional ride from Jumbo.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with most of that, except for that stage that he decided to go up the road and crashed on the downhill, where he was only going to make up, 10, 15 seconds maybe. But obviously he was the strongest guy there and showed that in the last TT last night, where he just torched everyone and made sure he caught Enric Mas on the line too. No gifts, not even in TTs.
Yeah, the amount of stage wins that came with the overall victory too, like it was.
Yeah, I mean, four in the overall. It's almost as domination as you can get.
Yep.
AG Tour picked up a stage win.
Yep.
Yeah, they were present, weren't they?
Around the mark.
Can you? Is that's almost more than par, isn't it? For the team that they had there, they had arguably none of their big names. Obviously, guys that were chasing breakaways. We're talking Lilian Calmejean, who made his name for himself in the Tour de France a couple of years, is going on breakaways. But the rest of the boys there, it's not a super exciting list. So I think the Jagger stage win for them is a 3 or a 4.
They were very present. Bouchard and Calmejean were in most of the breaks. And so was their eventual stage winner in Clements Campbell. Did I get that?
Yeah.
How did that sound?
It looks good for me.
Who I'm a big fan of, and I've got him down as a potential French GC hope as he gets a little bit older. But that's just under a pass because they did nothing but win stage 20.
Yeah.
Does the difficulty of stage 20 though just tip them over the edge? Maybe get them to a 4 because it was a hot stage.
Yeah.
But he was a survivor from a break that got caught, and then the leaders took it easy. So he didn't exactly ride Roglic off his wheel.
I mean, if we're comparing them to other teams as well, there's a lot of teams that came out of this Vuelta with nothing to show, whether that comes into consideration for the, the overall mark.
That's because Magnus caught one every stage.
Yeah, between them and Jumbo, there wasn't much left.
It's a 4 from me.
I think a 4-2. I think that stage win is significant.
Yeah, if we're giving them a 3, geez, I feel sorry for what's coming for some.
Ooh, there could be some zeros out here today.
Albertson Phoenix started off pretty hot with Philipsen almost looking like he was the quickest guy there before he pulled out sick. And we saw the Australian make his Grand Tour debut in Jay Vine, picking up a stage win not a stage win, third on a stage in strange fashion after crashing and then blood all over him, ripping up this final climb. Another exciting, I guess the thing for me for this team is it's another exciting Grand Tour from Albertson Phoenix. They're present. They're always there. They're always around the mark. They're always doing things. It's a good squad.
Yeah, they Jay Vine. You've probably already recapped it at some point with Jay, maybe. But Keno, like I'm a massive fan of Keno. He did the preview of the Volta, Campbell, as the guest of myself and Alex.
Yeah, of course.
And he mentions that he doesn't really follow social media while calling the race. And I was on social media and had noticed that everyone was tweeting the miraculous comeback of Jay Vine. Yet Keno and Dave McKenzie didn't pick up that Jay Vine had made a miraculous recovery because they were going by what they were seeing on the TV. I reckon, I just think, and then it happened again with Miguel Angel Lopez decided to get off his bike. And Keno, once again, doesn't like to follow social media when calling. Maybe social media is the new way to call cycling.
It could be. I mean, I can see the problem getting too much information and possibly false information. But yeah, at the same time, there's a lot of things that do slip through the cracks on the footage. So yeah, it could be a hot tip for Keno. You should see.
I think there was some extra footage that slipped through the cracks on this tour, though. It seemed like there was some rogue camera work going on in Spain over the last 3 weeks.
I must say, the race isn't where Lopez was in the final stage. No one really cared about that back group that lost 5 minutes by the end. So
neither did Lopez.
He cared for about 60 of the Ks, but that was about it.
That's bizarre, isn't it? Pulling the pin like that.
But Jay Vine almost... it was great watching him and Storer throughout this Volta. That's a little bit of Aussie fighting spirit about the way they rode.
Yeah.
Disappointed he couldn't pick up a stage win. Probably was looking the best the day he crashed. And obviously Philipsen early. I thought Philipsen was going to win green for majority until he got sick. So they were good. I'd give them a 4 as well because they got the stage win and they were present in breaks.
Yeah. 2 stage wins for Philipsen.
Oh, yes.
It's pretty good.
I think I might dial that up to a 5.
I think the second one gets him a 5.
And being super active, and no Mathieu van der Poel and still getting big results. I think that's a massive, massive tick for them. So as always, Alex and I tend to go a little bit overs with these. So take those numbers how you
Max
want.
gives away no free points.
Yeah, I mean, I think he knows the system better than us.
I'm used to the system. 12 years in the system.
Yeah.
Speaking of Albertson Phoenix, like Merlier just going off doing his own thing as well, winning in where did he win? What's that tour called that was going hand in hand with the Volta?
Whatever the old Enico tour was, old Bing Bang tour.
Yeah, the Bink Bank or Ben Chilux, whatever it is, one of those two.
New sponsors, hard to keep up with what the race actually is.
Yes, but they're winning everywhere.
Yeah.
Albertson.
Yeah.
Astana Premier Tech.
Oh, where do we start?
I think I was talking about Vlasov at was it last year's World Tour where I was arguing with you, Campbell, about him being World Tour quality, top tier quality.
World class.
World class.
Yeah.
Still hasn't really come to life for me.
I think we can finally put a line for him.
Forever.
Forever or just for the next year?
At Astana. I'm not sure. Is he leaving? I had a feeling he might have been leaving. I think I saw something of him leaving somewhere.
Yeah, correct. He's heading to Bora next year on a 3-year deal.
That might help him.
Yeah. I mean, you often see, and Storer's an exception to this, but people that are on the move next year in their last couple of races, they tend to have the clutch in. So maybe there was a little bit of that. He was never really in the mix when he pulled the pin in the DNS. Obviously, he was 30th. So he was never really in the hunt deep into the tour. So I still have hopes for Vlasov, but so far he hasn't put himself into the world-class category, in my opinion.
And not seen Aaron Buru, Luis Leon Sanchez, or the Izagiri brothers really at all.
It's a good list, isn't it?
It's a good
what they
list.
had there.
It's very non-Astana what they pulled out this Volta.
Yeah, a lot of just the Spanish boys just enjoying riding around Spain, cruising around. Omar Frale was there too. Luis Leon Sanchez must have been doing his 20th Vuelta.
He finished as well. I had to go back and look and just see he must have pulled out Luis Leon. No, he was there.
A one?
Oh, if that.
Yeah. And that was. I guess where do they get their
where do you give many points?
Izagiri made a break.
Aaron Buru was second on the first stage.
Yeah, first stage. Yes, you're right.
That might get a point for Campbell and myself, maybe not for Max.
Yeah, we're giving Jay Vine a bit of a pump up for coming third. I think Aaron Buru gets something for coming second.
Jeez, being an unbiased podcast that has no friends.
Yes. I'll go one.
We'll leave it at a one.
It's a one.
With the possibility to come back and change it based off what we do later on in this piece.
Bahrain victorious.
Just continuing on their merry way of a fantastic year.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jack, just like Jack Haig's finished on the podium of a Grand Tour.
Yeah. That is super impressive.
That is enormous.
Can we talk about how we're all feeling in stage 20? So the initial move when Gino Mader gapped him a tiny bit and then looked over at Hagi and said, we should go here. And Hagi just jumped on his wheel. And then it just happened. It went from 10 seconds to a minute like that.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Sometimes it can happen like that. Sometimes it can't. But when there's that long to go and the favourites start attacking, it becomes hard to follow everything. And there's a little bit of luck involved, but at the same time, getting it tactically right, what they did was a good heist, if you will. And and then we saw Lopez pull out that day for some God knows reason. I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit later, but super strong team. And Gino Mader has really put himself on the world stage as someone that could go for the general in a couple of years, and Marc Perdon as well. I think that's definitely the end of Mikel Landa, isn't it?
It's I think it just it shows the importance of team strength. Like when you're in those scenarios where it's like attack, when you've got that security of a couple of riders around you, you can just control those variables. Whereas Superman Lopez with his team of one, it's a bit trickier. But
can we calm down on Marc Perdon now?
It was a wild Criterium du Dauphiné, wasn't it? That form that he had, and
his form on stage 20 though, when he was ripping turns on the front, like he single-handedly brought back that breakaway. And the thing that I like about stage 20 was when you got to those final climbs with Yates on the attack. It was like the race started again. It was like, all right, phase one's done. Lopez is gone. And then it's just Hagi just hanging on for dear life. He was just sitting in the back of his chair, just squirming as he just got dropped, then got back on, then got dropped, then got back on. But it was a good day for Australia.
Big time. And his team, you go, Max.
As much as Hagi's third is incredible, and we all thought that top three wasn't going to change. It almost seemed like it was going to be Lopez, Mas, Roglic the whole way home. No one predicted the white jersey to go off Egan Bernal's shoulders. No one predicted that.
Yeah. Ineos would be filthy with that overall result. Yates couldn't quite get it done in the TT, but at the same time, Jack's performance in that TT, I think at a minute everyone was thinking, oh, maybe maybe Yates could bring that back, and it looked like he was going to do it early in the piece. He went out like a cut cat, but Jack obviously just put together a super ride, and like Alex said, off the top, third in the Grand Tour. It's massive.
So is he now the guy? Like do you put a line through Lander? Like what on earth, where on earth does he sit?
I think I'd like to put a line through him. He's had a lot of opportunities now. As you know, in this sport, you can't ever write someone off a la Mark Cavendish. But for a long time now, he hasn't really been able to put together a Grand Tour. I know they got Caruso there as well, who was second at the Giro. And obviously young Gino Mader and Mark Prudhomme. There's a lot of good names there. But for me, I think it's probably got to be Jack Haig for them going forward. He's in that sweet spot, 27, 28. Big result like this, I think they'll be building around Jack in the next 3 to 4 years, you'd think.
It's becoming a very, very likable team. Very easy to watch.
Yeah,
and
big time.
The way they're riding is really, and even once again, I don't know these tours that are running hand in hand, but Sonny Colbrelli's and Mohoric has just done a 1-2 combo over in fucking Northern Europe somewhere. Sorry for swearing.
It is a good point. It is a good point though. Like, it's easy to put a stack of team sheet, but for them to actually work together and execute on these goals, it's like there's a whole nother ball game. Did Lander do anything? We're talking about how strong this team is. Did Lander do anything for the team?
Did an incredibly weird day where he decided to try and join the break after they'd already got 3 minutes. So then he rode the I'm not sure what climb it was, but rode it amazingly fast. But then he brought the whole peloton with him. And then I think that was the stage where Roglic ended up winning when Bernal went long. Like, it was just bizarre.
What was the reason for? Did he crash out on 17? Someone in
he didn't finish that day I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
The day that Bernal went long and he attacked on the climb. I'm not sure if he actually finished.
Is he getting off a bit light for his performance?
We all had him second, I think. Did we all have him second or third?
Yeah, I had him second.
Yeah.
He's only 31 too. It's not like he's getting deep into the twilight, 36, 37. He's probably right in that good area where he should be really challenging. But like I said, too many opportunities. Put a line through him.
Mine's done. I'm giving Bahrain a
score.
Not sure. Did Caruso their only stage winner?
Yeah, stage winner, white jersey, third overall.
And fifth.
And also Caruso won from 60 odd K to go.
Yeah. Yeah, 6.
I agree. It's a 6. Yep.
Or Hansgrohe.
They were there, weren't they? I forgot about them.
Shackman out again from another Grand Tour. Grosnado was 10th or something.
10th.
Yeah, but I mean, at 20 odd minutes.
Yeah, there was some huge time gaps.
10th is 10th. No pictures on scorecards, but
I don't reckon he was called once for a 10th.
No. But I mean, you look at the guys there. Besides Sharkman, wasn't really much to work with, was there?
Well, and their sprinter gave nothing. Geordie Moose, is it?
I think a 1 purely because they did get a top 10, but it was scrambled.
Well, he ended up beating who was the red jersey winner from Wanty?
The Norwegian boy.
Yeah, he finished in 11th. Like, it's not an amazing 10 to get. I'm being harsh. It's a top 10 Grand Tour.
Exactly. But yeah, I think it's a 1 still.
Yeah,
it's a 1. Burgos BH.
They were present. Like Navarro and Bowl were almost in every break. Like they probably did what they were out there to do.
Mm.
There wasn't too many easy breaks to be able to there's 7 guys that have survived the break and there's no names in there. Have a raffle on who wants to win it. There wasn't. I don't think there was any of them. There was always a dominant name in the break. Maybe the last one, the Magnus Court one from the break, was the one to potentially be able to win from.
Good luck beating him.
Yeah.
For me, it was in. You're right.
So is it Magnus Court's name? I know we'll get to EF at some point. Is it Magnus Court's name? Like if that was Sagan, they're the same, Sagan and Magnus Court. If Sagan was in a breakaway, they're not going to the line of him. Everyone just went to the line of him. It was bizarre.
Yeah. Well, he's the Vuelta specialist.
Yeah.
Won that many stages. Burgos, I mean, yeah, like you said, Max, that they did what probably expected to do, sniff out breakaways. One.
Yeah. Caja.
Yeah, probably a 1.
Same.
Well, they've got an extreme disappointment for mine in Jeffrey. I didn't even see him.
I didn't even know Jeffrey was in the race.
Yeah,
is that your man, Alex?
I was on him after I think it was pre-Giro. He pulled out a good result.
So Jeffrey's disappointed us.
Jeffrey's, yeah. Yeah. 1. Coffee this.
You can read this a different way, Coffee.
How do you read it, Max?
Enlighten us with your two points of view.
Top 10 on the GC.
Well, they were holding the what's it called when you're leading mid race, but it's not finalized.
Virtual.
Yeah, they were virtual red jersey for about 3 kilometers. That's not bad.
Yeah. Is that going to add to their points overall? Are we calculating that into the picture?
And they were sitting second for about a week. They got to freshen him up. I actually think Guy Martin's got a lot of talent. But if he rides every tour, he's never going to, when he gets a chance to get in the red jersey and actually be time in there, he's not going to last because he's so tired.
Yeah. I guess he's one of their riders who they think maybe he can be the one to win a big stage. They throw him in everything, but exactly like you said, when it comes time, he's just carrying too much load from too much racing. So nothing really to report besides that Guillaume Martin, a little bit of something through the race. It's thin, isn't it?
The way he got in the lead, he was not even in the winning break. Like he was in the second break that lasted to beat the peloton. Like it wasn't even a great way to get in the second spot.
It's a little bit like that Groschnartner result. Yeah, it's 9th on GC, the Grand Tour. Really good, but 20 minutes down, so never really in the picture for it.
Score?
2.
I agree. 2.
Yep. Koenig Quickstep, green jersey.
Mm.
Good story. He's back.
Seneschal with the stage win too. Florian.
Yeah. Always good for a couple of stage wins.
Just is that the most quietly a team has gone about 4 stage wins in a Grand Tour?
A bit.
Well,
Yeah.
within their 4 stage wins for the 3 to Jacobsen and 1 to Seneschal, the other riders were all quite disappointing.
Yeah.
Obviously, 2 of them you'd say were in complete Jacobsen, so Joseph Cherney and Stibar, you'd maybe say. But they're breakaway guys like Knox and Van Seven. They just didn't seem to have the legs. Baggioli.
Listen, I think with that team to get 4 stage wins, green jersey, I think they were signed up for that at the start. So it didn't matter what those other boys did.
Yeah,
they got some big results. So results alone, I think a 5.
What are we talking sprinter depth? Like he almost.
I know.
He was last on every stage. He wasn't in form at all, Jacobsen.
You got to remember, he's coming back from that massive injury with the big crash with Groenewegen in Poland 2019, where he was seriously injured. So to see him back winning, whatever the depth of the field is pretty good.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I agree with you there. That is a good story.
But yeah, I'm sure someone that we'll touch on shortly. He was still there, Arnaud Demar.
He was on the start list.
He was there.
He was there.
He was a warm body.
I'll go 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
EF Education Nippo. we talked about the Welter King briefly before, Magnus Cort. 3 stages, 3 completely different stages, and put his hat in the ring for a couple more stages as well. He was out of control.
He was.
I always give a betting story, so I'll give one.
Yes.
I had a good little amount of money on him to win the TT last night. So his TT stuff had been unbelievable his last 2 or 3, and he's in the form of his life. And I didn't know if Primoz would. Primoz was too short, so that's why. But I did go each way, so I picked up something. But
what was
joke
he,
about it.
What was he paying?
He was 23s.
Yep.
We joke about it in the preview that this guy's the king of Spain. He is the king of Spain. He's the king of the Volta.
It's not a bad little pun if you're punning. With Roglic, maybe he could have taken it a little bit easy. He had so much time up his sleeve. No need to take risks. But yeah, I really enjoyed the bunch kick that he won with the really good lead out from Jens Kukelier.
Yeah. Long range,
caught Michael Matthews off guard. I mean, there were some really cool wins from him, but I thought that one I really enjoyed that one.
And I think also, like, there was that one stage where he whacked the breakaway and was solo into the final climb with a K to go. Like, it wasn't just the 3 wins. He was present all day, every day.
Yeah.
Big, yeah. Golden stars for Magnus Cort. Hugh Carthy, disappointing.
Yes.
Came off 3rd at the Vuelta last year. Had him in my top 3 for a 3rd again. Didn't come out.
Well, Cort gets a 7. But the rest of the team just brings it to a 6, I think. Lawson Craddock was impressive. I finally found something that made me think Lawson Craddock could be a good rider in the future.
Yep.
And then not much else from the other members, but Cort gives them to a 6.
I think Tom Scully did all right opening TT as well.
But I was going to say if Quickstep got a 5. I think this is kind of a similar.
That's actually a good point, Campbell. I should have.
I mean, Quickstep at 4.
But the way that Magnus won, does that get extra points?
Maybe, and also the variety of his wins.
Yeah,
and his misses.
Yeah. Exactly.
As Max said, it's a 7 for Magnus, and then I think the team probably brings it down to a 6 for me.
Okay. Just for something different, I'll go for a 5, but could have easily been persuaded for a 6.
It's okay. That means you had 2 teams that have got 7 stage wins between them at 5s.
Yep.
I can't wait for Ineos. I cannot wait for Ineos.
I'm learning the system, Max.
Well, there's a bit on in the back end of this start list.
It's pretty grim from here.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of highlights.
It does.
Well, DSM and Intermarché Wanty are probably the 2 that are going to escape.
They're the only 2 that we're.
There's a few teams that are going to get whacked.
Euskadi.
Great to
not
see
one
them.
of the teams that's going to get whacked, but I'm not going to give them much.
No, either am I. And it's great to see that orange kit back in the peloton. It reminds me of my early days watching cycling, mid-2000s. Iban Mayo and Sammy Sanchez tearing it up in the orange. So a little bit of nostalgia is it's great in terms of their performance this year's Vuelta. Compsy.
They get a 1 as well.
Yep.
Groupama FTJ. We've touched on the sprinters. You think Arnaud Demar, Caleb Ewan not there. You beauty. Let's go. Nothing from Arnaud.
No, and it was the same at the Tour de France, wasn't it? We were super bullish about him at the Tour based off that Giro chaos last year where they just tore it up. And you thought, no Caleb here, no Bennett here, no Ackerman, number of big names on here, and he got second on stage 4. That was about it. Disappointing.
He's been described in the past as a flat track bully. This is a flat track. This is his time to bully. And he couldn't get it done. He was disappointing, as was Rudy Mollard, to try and get in some sort of break and climb. But their weapons weren't there, FDJ. They were very dull.
Yeah, I did notice that Oliver Legac was up the road one day. I believe he won the Junior Worlds back in 2010. Not sure if he's won a race ever since that day, but good to see him still getting a contract.
Big kid.
Yeah, of course. You win that junior worlds and you're guaranteed for life.
Score? Do they get on the scoreboard?
Well, they got a second, and we were praising Aaron Buru.
We were 1.
Yeah, they got a 1.
Yeah. Just.
Yeah.
Just.
I couldn't. Once again, Keno's a listener of the podcast. I couldn't have him pumping up Demar, helping him get a teammate into the break. Jesus.
If that's what their star riders coming to the World Cup.
Helping to get a teammate in the break.
Where does this leave Arno? Like, how old is he now?
He's 30 this year.
30 this year.
Yeah.
I really thought after last year's Giro, it was like he had his team dialed. The lead out train was in sync. He was fast as.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's just nothing.
I think Max might be able to shed a little bit of light on this, but I mean, you boys in 2019 maybe have a really dominant period. Arnaud Demar in the Giro last year. Do you get this whole year as a bit of a mulligan, and then next year's the real year that we judge him?
Yeah, we had a year where we shat the bed, Campbell. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly when you're an athlete, you can go up and down. And I'm not writing Demar off. Where I was writing Vlasov off, he hasn't proven to show anything. He hasn't got a title to his name almost, where Demar's got multiple stage wins. And what we're seeing with Cav, you can't write a sprinter off. He's just lost a little bit of confidence. I'm sure he'll get it back. Unfortunately, what he needs is a full team dedicated to him, which runs its risk, like we saw in the tour with Caleb. If he's out of form or does get injured, is the team goes to bust. But I'll back him in. He'll find a flat track. He'll find another flat track. Dubai probably at the start of the season. And he'll win
the Dubai race circuit. Ineos Grenadiers. We were talking about them at the start of the Vuelta, like talking about stacked teams. This was a stacked team. The contract value of this squad is enormous.
It's the best team on paper. There's no doubt about that. 3 guys that realistically could have won. Obviously, Carapaz was pretty empty from the massive season that he had, but Bernal and Yates they easily could have gone 1-2. So yeah, a little bit disappointing for them. No stage win either. When they had that disappointing Grand Tour last year, it was a tour last year. They didn't have any GC, but they jagged a number of stage wins. So super disappointing for them. I think I'm probably going to come in with a 3.
They're struggling with that middle ground. So the Ineos we fell in love with a couple of tours ago when they lost their GC completely and then went for stage wins, or they're either winning and they look dominant. When they have guys that are still fighting for GC, that's when they struggle. So Sivakov was still riding full domestique mode because they've got a guy sitting in 4th and 6th. So he sort of has to. And their workhorses, well, few of them left, injured, and Pidcock probably just wasn't at his best. 4th and 6th, so Bahrain get 3rd and 5th. We give them a 6. They get 4th and 6th. It's a purely budget that we make them. They should be doing better.
I think with this scoring, we take into consideration expectations a little bit and reputation. But that's a good point. When they're in that middle ground, they're fighting for the top 10. They don't really know what to do.
Yep.
What?
And they ran out of soldiers. Sivakov would have been great to be in a break, but Bernal needed him to do a 60K long attacks.
Bernal was coming good. That was one thing that progressed throughout the race. But what do you think Dave B's thinking back at headquarters, back on the home base, going, how do they get back to winning the Tour de France? Can Egan get there again?
They need to put a recruiter in Slovenia.
Mm.
Like Egan probably can, but as we've seen, and the tour showed this. So Pog, we thought wasn't on as strong of a team as Jumbo and Ineos, but in the end, the best rider tends to win. So they can have all these weapons, but the tour had Port Thomas not at their best. Here it has Yates and Bernal not at their best, and it's no match for Rog.
Mm. Well, we talked about after the tour who's going to be the man, and we said that it's Bernal to challenge the Slovenian boys for the tour next year. I think at the Giro he showed that he was at a top level. But yeah, has he done enough here to convince you that he is the answer? Because if it's not him, who is it?
He did come good. His last TT was good, and he was just caught in the wrong move on stage 20, and he wasn't allowed to chase.
But it's like there's top, and then there's racing the Slovenians. It's like it just seems like it's a whole nother ball game. Rog was just so composed throughout. I know I know he's won a Grand Tour this year, which is exceptional. But when we're talking Ineos standards,
I think just this case, I know I'm contradicting myself. I think Egan with a good team, but not good team talking like they take Yates, Carapaz, and Thomas. Good team like they take Ghana, and they take Van Baal, and they make him really strong around. Like in the Giro, when Egan was attacking on descents and just sitting on Ghana's wheel. Like that's hard to defend. That's what they got to do. They got to take their best team, but not all these stars, not all these guys that want to sit top 10 GC.
And I think also the TT ability on the Slovenian boys is such an ace in the pocket. Like, you know, if they need a bailout, it's the TT. And always rely on that TT is where Bernal and these other guys have to go for it in the mountains, and that can be risky.
Scores?
3.
I went a 3. Yeah.
3. Intermarché Wanty topped off a good year for the squad.
Yeah.
With another stage win, added another stage win to the books.
Yeah, I'll go straight out and give him my score early. I reckon. Oh, geez, I just went down from a 6 to a 5. 5. Expectation doesn't help, but they are a pro tour team. We've got to remember that. They are.
You do forget that.
You do forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one stage win, 9 days in the leader's jersey between is Ikin?
Yep, Ikin.
And Rain Taramay. Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's very, very good. Very good. Almost a top 10 too. I know we were just going off other people saying that top 10's not great, but that would have added to the score for this team. So
Menkes was home for a top 10 as well.
What's up to this guy anyway?
He actually, that's the best he's looked in 3 years. And Jan Hurt obviously was riding some good domestic legs as well. But
obviously they get good presence from being in red, but it felt like with Menkes and co, there was more emphasis on the team. You feel like they were in the race more.
Yeah.
I liked it.
There was that awkward little bit when the red's getting dropped, yet the domestics stayed with Louis Menkes to hold on to 12th. Like that was an awkward little period of get what you like. You got a chance to hold red.
Yeah. What did you give him, Max, off the top? A 5 or a 6?
5.
I'll agree with that.
I think 5.
I think 5. Yeah.
Israel Startup Nation.
Now, no joke. Like I'm not being. I mean, obviously there was an Aussie there, so we kept a little bit of interest in Berwick, and he was in a couple of breaks. But was Israel there?
Not really.
That's the only. Like you said, there's a bit of Australian bias there, so you're naturally going to keep an eye out. But I don't remember. I don't remember seeing them. Besides that move that Berwick was in.
Such an underwhelming team, and they got an underwhelming result.
I mean, seriously, when these guys don't have a Michael Woods or a Dan Martin there, it's thin.
Yeah. Score?
Does Berwick's time in the move get him up to a 1?
Well, Van Mark was in a move as well a couple of times. He's a world-class rider, so he doesn't deserve to get points for being in a move.
And also remember, we are completely unbiased podcast, so
Of
we've got to
course.
treat Berwick in the move the same as if there was a Belgian in the
Our
move.
first 0 then, Alex.
I think it's a 0. No points.
They weren't there.
They weren't
So
there.
if they get a 0, this next crowd get a 0.
This one's a bit more controversial because Cron he tried his little backside off.
Does that get you points, Max?
Oh, he tried more than Berwick.
Effort?
I don't know.
We had a couple of top 10s on some stages.
I'm giving them a 1.
Can you please justify that? With some examples.
So Holmes and Cron, I felt like were really good in breaks that didn't survive. That's all.
Yeah. To your point about Ineos Campbell, about there being nothing without Woods.
Israel, you mean?
See, Israel, yeah. Lotto Sudal without Caleb Ewan.
Yes.
They're just they went from winning 5 stages to a couple of good breakaways being inside them. That is literally it.
Yeah. I think Tim Wellens is also a really good winner for them.
A good Welter winner too.
Yeah. Outside of those two, it is thin, isn't it?
They need to pick up a climber.
They need to pick up something.
Well, that's what Harm Van Hook was really like. He was their guy, and then doesn't really translate into much. But yeah, there's nothing that. Well, they're paying Phil Gill's wage for another year, which I imagine is not cheap. They got John. Like,
you want something to get excited about in this team, and if there's no Caleb Ewan there, I know again non-biased podcast, but if there's no Caleb there, they just really seem to be going through the motions.
How long ago did the sun just fully collapse in Tasmania, or?
Yeah, goes that quick.
Very bright, not long ago.
Whoosh.
Yeah, they get a 1 for me.
I'm gonna go 0.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with 0.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's like a top tier. It's a top class world tour team.
Didn't do enough.
Movie star.
So this is going to be the most interesting of the ratings of the lot.
Take us away.
Well, they've got a second in GC for the first time in I don't know how long. Like
with a Spaniard too.
With a homegrown Spaniard. And it was a good second. Mass was good. Mass was, like, let's be fair, Mass was good. He challenged Roglic a couple of times. It's a good second.
Yeah.
Lopez was good throughout the tour, had a poor moment in the last 2 days. So I think if you're sitting in the Movistar bus, they got a stage win with Lopez and they've got a second, you're happy. But it was a catastrophe of the last 2 days.
It wouldn't be a Movistar Grand Tour without a little bit of drama.
Oh, that episode, when they get to the Vuelta, last episode, it'll be the last episode of season 4, whatever Netflix. I am watching that. That is, I don't know if they'll be happy for Mass or really upset that Mass got caught and embarrassed by Roglic on the TT and Lopez jumped off his bike. Like, that's.
Can we unpack the Lopez jumping off scenario?
Apparently, I've heard that he got back on and then missed the time cut. So he jumped off his bike. Then he said, no, all right, I'll get back on, then missed the time cut.
He must have been off his bike for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there would have been plenty of guys in the autobus a long way behind.
I mean, he tried his little backside off for 30K and then called it quits.
I mean, that's total implosion, isn't it? That is head falling off in the biggest possible way.
He's gone from I'm sitting 6 in GC to going, who cares?
I mean, there must be more to this. Maybe we'll hear some things over the coming weeks, but absolutely bizarre to see that. Maybe it was just he was just that pissed off that he said, "I've got to get off my bike."
Well, no one helped him. He got what Verona. Verona helped a tiny bit, I think.
I think Verona was out. So I think the couple of things. Valverde and Verona were out of the race.
Yeah, that's right.
And then also he's got Mass up the road, and they were, like it's a hard one. But Max, can you understand at the top level of sport, he's trying to make the podium of the Vuelta. Like, can you somewhat articulate what it would be like to be in that situation?
In the heat of the moment, when your heart rate's 180, he's got every right to be angry, I think. But he's got to somehow find some sort of reset tool to be able to cope with the fact that he's got a teammate in a good position that can't come back and help. And I would have almost said, like, Lopez shouldn't be chasing it at all. Like, that's how much Mass was benefiting from that group not coming. Because Mass would have got caught on the TT by Bernal if Bernal managed to get back. So, like, that gets brought into... It's such an interest. At 180 heart rate, you can't complain of anything he does, but he had a chance to probably reset when he first got off the bike, and it sounds like it took him a while.
I mean, the one stage win, does that seem a little bit unders for the group that they had there?
Queen stage.
Am I going too hard on them here?
Not once they got injured, I think. Once Valverde, Verona, and I think Oliveira was still there, but not really at his best. Once they were gone, I think that's understandable that only one.
Yeah. So stage win, second overall, or could have had fifth or sixth overall if it hadn't been for Lopez's implosion.
Yeah, so up until stage 20, they're almost the best team in it, just outside of Jumbo. So I'm giving them a 5.
Yeah, I think I'll go for a 5 too. I don't think they did enough to get up into that 6.
How many points are they losing for Lopez's?
I think
maybe
that's
it
the
neutral
because
he won a stage? He still won a stage.
He still won a stage. It's almost like Caruso winning the stage and Haig finishing 3rd.
And it would have also been 5th or 6th on GC. I think that's probably the difference between the 5 and the 6.
But it keeps the Movistar story going. It keeps the tail,
which we love.
It would have been too conventional if they just finished 2nd and 3rd or finished 2nd and 5th.
Yeah.
But instead,
we're a non-biased podcast, but we love Australians and we also love Movistar capitulations.
Yeah, I'm giving them a 6 because of the power of this next Netflix series that they're going to get out of this Vuelta, which started off as a boring recreational Vuelta.
They're thinking big picture with these sort of things. They're like,
I wouldn't be surprised if you go, Campbell. Sorry,
I was going to say they thought, you know what, not going to get the podium here, Miguel. It's in our best interest long term as an organisation for you to pull out so we have a good epi on Netflix.
I wouldn't be surprised if the producer wasn't in his ear.
Yeah.
And we're just going to leave, and then we're just going to give these like random presses with like quotes from his girlfriend's conversation that he had after the race and yada, yada, yada. And no one's really going to know what's happening on it. Everyone's going to be hooked for season 4.
Yeah. Business.
Team Bike Exchange.
It gets grim. It gets grim from here. There's one team still that's going to get a great result with DSM, but the other 4 teams are relatively grim.
Relatively, yeah.
Bike Exchange, they're going to get a 1 from me.
Where do they get their 1, Max?
The 1's purely Matthews.
Yeah, I'll just chip in with something before we get going on their Vuelta. They've only had 2 World Tour wins this whole season, 1 stage at Catalunya and 1 stage at the Giro.
And they're not the big boy in Bling Matthews as well.
Correct. It was Yates with both of them. So that's a quiet year, isn't it?
They seem to be tactically wrong. They seem to be all in for the sprints. And I get that their best rider or highest paid rider in that team is a sprinter. But the people that he's similar to are like a Magnus Cort who goes one man help. Like he gets one help and lets the quick step take control rather than taking the whole team and having your climber, Lucas Hamilton, going like flat out on the flats. And then like Schultz and Hamilton, who could get maybe a climbing stage win, are just gassed. It just seems to be weird tactically. They seem to be all in for Matthews. When I agree, I'm a big Matthews fan. I reckon he can ride. But I feel like he'd just be better with maybe Mezgec, and that's it.
Right. And like if Matthews is flying, so Matthews is Magnus Court spec, then yeah, double down. That's all you want. Go all in for Matthews. But when he's in this weird space of he's not quite quick enough, but he can't quite climb well enough either. Like he's in this really, really niche zone. It seems like the race almost has to be perfect for him to feature in the finale. Otherwise, he's just going to pick up 4th, 5th, 6th. Then I think, yeah, Max, you got to open up more options. You got to put Damo in a break. You got to put Lucas in a break. But yeah, they're doing a lot of work. They did a lot of work on the front.
Yeah.
It was a bit Sagan-esque at the tour.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get desperate. You've got to lay it on the line and leave it all out there. But the stage that I was talking about earlier in this pod with the Cuculaire lead out for Court, that was the one that really got away from them. They put a lot of work into that. Matthews just fell asleep a little bit in the last 400 metres and got caught cold. But you're right, Alex. He's a little bit in between that quick man / punchy climber. Like there was some stages there that were really, really hard, and he was there in the thick of it, but didn't quite have enough. So yeah, they got an interesting summer coming up, or winter, whatever you want to look at it, and what they're going to do for next year and what their goals are.
Because if you run through the rest of the stat sheet, Hamilton, Hausen, climber-esque stages, Mezgec, Nieve in the climbing bucket 2, Schultz, Stannard, Zeitz, they're all like good riders in their own right. They could all feature in breakaways.
They should have been in every break. I think they just got it all wrong. They just should have been in present. Matthews should have been in breaks.
Yeah. Yeah. Schultz, I think Schultz was in pretty good nick getting into some of those.
Yeah. But when you're cooked from Tonkin turns on the front every day. Like,
yeah.
Why can Court get in breaks but Matthews can't? Like, and Hamilton was his lead-out man. So Mezgec was obviously his lead-out man, but Hamilton led Mezgec out. Like, that's just bizarre. They'll all be listening, so I'll go easy on them.
Yeah, they'll all be listening.
Of course.
They'll be listening.
I'm a big fan of how they ride, though. They like, whatever happens tactically in the team bus in the morning, they go balls out for it. Like, they give it a red-hot crack.
Well, yeah, the thing is, at least you know what they're doing and you see them on TV. They're not like some of these other teams we've talked about. They're just sitting in the back, going through the motions.
Yeah.
But expectations, I think, of this group probably would have been a lot more than what they delivered in terms of results. So what does that translate into a score? A 1 or a 2, a maximum?
I think a 1.
I'm a 1, yeah.
How do you think they're feeling about Hagee?
Well, I mean, they've lost 2 big Australian talents the last 3 or 4 years. Caleb and Jack are gone. Obviously, it's one of those things that you look back on and it's easy to talk about, but I think everyone knew that they were massive talents and they just didn't get the opportunities. And look what happens when they get that opportunity to go for themselves. They have big results. So I reckon they'll be a little bit filthy.
Like, I know I'm big on them buying into Australians, but like, it just seems like they've spent so much money on these other guys. Like, why wouldn't you keep Hagee? I know you can't tell the future. But geez, imagine if there was an Australian on Team Bike Exchange running 3rd at Vuelta. That would have been big. That would have been a big news story.
Yeah.
I'm the other way there, Alex. I just think that they have done the Australian thing. I know the Yates is un-Australian.
They've run and won it.
Yeah, I feel like look at the American, like EF Magnus Court has made them like you don't. I think they need to just I'm not sure. They're not based in Australia, so it's not like it's the other side of the world for these riders.
Yeah. Jesus, got dark down south.
Looks good. Looks like I'm in some sort of studio now. Look at that. It's all black behind me. How good's that?
Yeah.
That happened so quickly.
Lights out in Hobart. All righty. Team DSM. Michael Storer, 2 stages, polka dot jersey.
Yeah. Thanks for playing, everyone.
Thanks for coming. Roman Bardet picked up a stage 2.
And some misses for Storer as well amongst that.
Yeah.
They had six riders in the top 25 on the final TT.
They tend to do this squad. I know they severely disappointed us at the tour this year. Like, they can bag stage wins.
Mm.
The only asterisk against them bagging stage wins is the guys that are doing it always leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you had a pod with Storer, Alex. What was he? Did he reveal anything about next year? Off air?
Not really. He kept everything very close to his chest. He's like a super calculated guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he didn't really give me much on next year.
Yeah.
Like,
obviously we know that he's going to FDJ.
You think, yeah, it can't be an opportunities thing, because there are plenty at
we got the Giro and the Volta and rode well in both.
Team DSM, but yeah, I don't really know why.
But we know that story about Song Pra with the saddle height sort of thing. Is that how much truth there was to that? Is it just this severe micromanagement from the team that, you know, we see a lot of riders at Sunweb at this sort of time in their career go elsewhere. So
yeah,
it's not uncommon to see someone move like this.
Yeah, but yeah, what a Vuelta for Michael Storer. Like, he was talking about in the pod how he first year Vuelta, he's like, I just wanted to finish the race. Literally did nothing, contributed 0. Second year, wanted to make the breakaway, made 2 breakaways. Third year, wanted to make the breakaway and race for a win, came 3rd on the stage. 4th year, wanted to win a stage. Here we are with 2 down, and he picked up the polka dot jersey post that. Yeah.
Do you speak much about the hierarchy of the whole Bar Davies Storer polka dot in the last couple of stages?
Well, this was pre the KOM jersey really coming on the cards.
Yeah.
But you'd think that would be a little bit interesting with him leaving the squad. Bardet there next year, the elder statesman. But I don't know. Michael Storer seems like, although he's very quiet, calculated, considered guy, I think when it comes to the crunch, he would stand up for himself and back himself in to be like, I'm winning this, guys.
Got a bit of cold blood.
Yeah, I think he's got the cold blood, which I think most of them do. But yeah, he's got cold blood.
I mean, that's a super calculated guy who knows how to manage his expectations with that, like what you were saying about his first Vuelta to his 4th.
Yeah.
Just that progression and ticking off those goals along the way. It takes a lot of grinding ability to get your ass kicked for a number of years to know that it'll count for something.
Yeah, especially when these guys come from, like, they're hot juniors, so they're winning all the time. And then you take a big deep dive into the senior ranks. And yeah, I think just every way he went about it, like he was talking about his, like, he kind of just broke down all the elements of his bike riding. So descending, climbing, tactics, and just like worked on these individual sections. So I think the way that he talked about just simplifying what can sometimes be a highly technical sport, he's got things dialed, Michael Storer.
Can I ask you an Australian type question? My view of Australian cyclists when I first started to get into cycling was big, bulky riders, TT, sprinters, flat track, genuine guys who can get on the front of the peloton and pull. Your Campbell Flakemores, like just some big,
your big names.
Yeah, some big wattage, big cyclists. We have an abundance of climbers. What's happened in Australian cycling?
Well, obviously, when you and I maybe started watching cycling, like mid 2000s to sort of 2015, the track program was pretty heavily intertwined with the road. So once you finished your track, you went straight into the road. So I reckon there was this good bit of crossover. But the last couple of years, like your Jai Hindleys, your Storers, there was no real hard and fast national programs. They went and did a little bit of amateur racing in Europe and just got used to racing in Italy on filthy parkour, and in France, like Schultzy, just on goat tracks, such hard racing that you just have to be more agile and
So it's just less. It's as simple as less track.
That's how I read it. I don't know about you, Alex, but you're obviously talking about Michael Wetburn, Durbridge, Dennis, all these sort of guys, Max.
Yeah, but even O'Grady, McEwen, like they're all been guys who are there on flat stages.
Yeah, I think like Jerry's program that he ran as part of the under-23s was such a turning point, like that in sync with the National Road Series developing, getting more opportunity for these guys. I think like you put it down to actual opportunity to actually focus completely on the road. You didn't have to do any track. You didn't have to be big to be a part of the programs. And yeah, so I think they were always there. I think it was just finding that pathway to actually get them to the World Tour. Just put them on the map. And like, because the riders that we're seeing now are from 3 to 5 years ago.
They're almost, if you put in a world's course now that was pure mountains, high, like horse category mountains, we'd almost have the best 9 climbers, like in terms of like a field of 9.
Australia would put together a super strong team.
Yeah, would almost have the pick of the bunch. Like that's crazy.
It's a good point, Max. Yeah.
Anyway, I'll give them a 6.
I think a 6 too. Honestly, I don't think we would have expected these guys to get 3-stage wins. So I'll probably agree with that. Throw in the King of the Mountains jersey too for a little bit of extra spice.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know what we gave them at the tour, but you look at how they've transformed from that race.
I think they would have got a 0. They would have got close to a 0.
Yeah.
And once again, their sprinter. That was probably where they let themselves down when they rode on the front for their sprinter and nothing really happened. That seemed to be a bit of their tour, but it was their breakaway guys.
Team Quebec and next hash. We say goodbye to the great Fabio Aru.
Because am I the only one that's missing this? Like, why are we watching him cry at the end of the TT with 50 people? Like, he's retired. Yeah, I get he's retired, but it's Fabio Aru. Like, what did he do, Alex?
Well, it's all on potential, I think. Did he win a Vuelta?
He definitely won a Vuelta. He finished on the podium at the Giro, almost won the Giro when him and Landa were just going 2 up like madmen.
But Max, I think it was, for me, it was all around when him and Vince were at Astana and they were going head to head. The 2 Italians were clashing and you were like, this guy's going to leave and just take over the world.
Yeah.
And then he never took over the world. And then he just went through some, I think Keno was pretty harsh on him in the tour preview around some of his team performances and lack of team support that he's provided over the years.
He would have been getting paid an absolute mozza as well.
Well, there was that time when he was, where was he? Was he at UAE?
Yeah, he was at UAE for 3 years, 18, 19, 20.
And you know how they always bring out like the top 5 highest paid riders, and there's like Froome and Geraint and co. And then scattered in there was Fabio.
Yeah.
Like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah, I agree. It seems like there was a little bit too much for someone that, it's not like he won the Tour de France this year and is having an early retirement. He hasn't done much for a number of years now, 2 or 3.
Are they a 0 here, Quebecer?
Yeah, unless you give me a good reason why they wouldn't be.
I think they're a 0.
It's poor performance. It also came out too, I think they're not getting paid properly either. One of their sponsors has come up short with a bit of cash.
Geez, that's a surprise.
Trek, Segafredo.
How early did Ciccone go out here? Was he first week?
He was present
Second
for the
week.
first week.
Yeah, I just
So
can't remember.
stage 16.
We did what he thought. We hoped he didn't. Remember, Alex? We said in the preview that we hope he doesn't ride GC, and he was riding GC.
I think he's got to put that dream away.
I think
he's
Breck's got to put that dream away.
He's such a good stage hunter, but I just don't know if he's got any of the skills really required to pull together a 3-week grand tour. Like he's not going to drop Rog. He's not going to out time trial Rog. Like GC's a hard thing, whereas where he's such a punchy, animated rider, he just stages. That's all he needs to focus on.
They had Kenny in red.
One day in red. Yep, that's where they're going to get some sort of score here.
Yeah,
that counts for something. One day in red for a big team like Trek. How much does that really count for?
I was expecting some big things from Quinn Simmons.
Yes.
Probably harsh on a 20-year-old, but
yeah.
Kenny Ellison for a stage as well, maybe somewhere.
Seems like Kenny Ellison must be up to about his 75th race day for the year.
Yeah.
him and Guy Martin will be on head-to-head all year.
Yeah.
They haven't done any training this year. They're just been pressed to race.
1.
I go 2, just.
Do you think that day in the red bumps them up?
I think it does.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're at 2. Just. UAE.
This is going to be an interesting one because they were ever so present for a non-stage winning team. Sorry, Rafa Michael won a stage.
Rafa won a stage.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Dom almost topped off a super year with another stage, second. David Dela Cruz on the GC.
So this is the sort of team list we've become accustomed with this group, sort of pre-POG. Get your best riders, throw them in, mix it up, and see what happens.
I felt like they literally, the team must put the names in the hat who wants to get in the break. Like the biggest horse climbs days, they've got Gibbons and Trenton in the break.
Yep.
And Gibbons almost pulled it off.
He did. Yeah. I mean, for them, doing the Tour de France they did, they kind of have a free run here, do what they like. And to get a stage win out of it with Micah, I think they would have been happy with that.
7th GC, I think, was it? De La Cruz?
With De La Cruz, yeah, he's definitely top 10. So, yeah, I think for them, is that a 3?
No, it's a pass. They've ticked. They haven't sent Pog. I'm trying to think. They haven't sent Hershey. They haven't sent any of their big money players. They've sent Micah, De La Cruz, and Trenton, and it's worked.
I put Dombrowski in that bracket too.
Yeah.
Maybe a 4. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, I'll say 4. They would tick it off as we've ticked off all 3 tours this year.
Yeah. Well, they like it seems like this squad is like we're talking back to the money element. This is a well-paid squad.
Recognizable names.
I think a 3. And that's it.
No, I just can't cop that. I can't cop a 3.
You did. look at the names on the list though. Imagine what Trenton. I guess they did get one stage win.
Like Milano and Trenton, yes, but they were close. Like Trenton must have had a second there, and Milano definitely had a top 4.
Trenton doesn't float my boat still, so
okay. Now I'm undercovering what's happening.
Still got a vendetta. Funny chase Caleb down on the Poggio downhill.
De La Cruz has finished 7th, just behind Egan Burnell.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like this top 10 is like if you weren't in the top 5.
Yeah, is there much value outside of 4th?
Well, to be fair, he tried. He wasn't Groschnard at De La Cruz. He was attacking. No, that's all right. That's your view. You reckon a 3? I'm surprised you didn't give him a 1 with Trenton.
Yeah, a stiff 3. But I'm going to lock it in.
Okay.
What do we give the Vuelta?
Gibbons almost beat Roglic on stage 20.
The Vuelta overall?
The Vuelta overall.
Did I hear that it was one of the biggest winning margins from first to second in history. What does that mean? Does that mean that it was a bad one? Having an Australian in third, that adds something for us as an Australian podcast.
I think that adds something to the cycling world, having an Australian in third. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but surely when a non-European is making the top three, it's some sort of news.
It's news, definitely.
Stage, it's good when there's like a hot stage towards the end. So you got stage 20 top of mind.
That's one of the best Grand Tour stages I've watched in 3 or 4 years. Like in terms of the parkour, very smart. That stage 20, one of the smartest stages I've seen put together.
Mm-hmm. And it's also nice seeing the podium get flipped that late as well.
Yeah.
But
as cycling has been now for a couple of years, it's just the dominant GC winner at the top. We haven't seen any real challenges.
Not having Burnell and Lander in form hurts the Volta a tiny bit. I think it was a ROG show, knowing that Mass was never going to beat ROG, just brought it down a tiny bit. Only having Jakobsen and Philipsen, and then Philipsen leaving, brought that bit down a little bit. But the breakaways kept it alive. Your Magnus Corts, your Storers, your Bardays, these sort of stories were pretty good to watch.
4 for me overall.
I'm going to give it a 5.
I'll go slightly better than the Giro, slightly worse than the Tour. Not sure what rating that is, but
someone wants to punch out that calculation. Go ahead.
And that's the Grand Tour season done.
Still a bit of fun to go, though. Still a bit of fun.
To go.
Worlds, Roubaix.
Roubaix had a great time of the year. Worlds and Il Lombardi.
Yeah.
Tour of Britain's keeping me interested. I think Van Aert is about to put on a genuine show for 7 days.
Yeah. I don't mind Roubaix at the end of the year. It just gives you it gives the end of the year a nice little lift.
Well, it means like people that are getting themselves later fit, like a Van Aert, is got 3 genuine targets: Il Lombardi, Roubaix, and Worlds. That's pretty exciting.
It's a busy period for someone like that, isn't it?
So we're going to see a lot of riders slowly getting their way back into form over this next week or two.
Yeah. Thanks, Cambo. Thanks for coming on the show.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me, everyone.
Thanks, Max. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for coming on the show, Campbell. Means a lot.
No problems. Yeah, thank you very much again for having me, Max. Pleasure.
We'll talk soon.
Hooroo.
See ya.